Hello and welcome back to the Macca's Talk Hockey podcast where me and my brother Charlie and our good friend Dan talk about English ice hockey, specifically the NIHL. It is week 3 in the books. We're going to review every game from week 3 and look ahead to week 4 as well. Charlie's back on this one. He just comes on when he wants.
hmm I'm
Anything to
vibes, man.
say?
I don't watch like last week. I watched a stream or two, but I can't contribute as much. But yeah, it's good vibes. Top of the league.
We'll come to that. Dan, anything? You had quite a chill weekend actually. You had your Sunday off. Obviously no Basingstoke games this weekend, but yeah, quite a chill one prepared for the week where Bison actually have 2 games.
Yeah, that's it. Just getting ready once again for the Bison. Charlie got a haircut. I don't know if any of you noticed, but yeah, Charlie got a haircut. That's why he was away last week. It took him a week to cut it.
Yeah,
hmm
he's growing out a mullet. We will. I know I say it every week. We'll try and get an interview on at some point, but it's just finding the time to do it. With work and everything. But I know people like hearing our reviews whilst going to work or in the car or on a walk or whatever. But the first game of the weekend, because there's not really any news, the news which I guess is bans and dops we're going to talk about in these games, and I'm sure a lot of people will be aware of them. But we'll cast our minds all the way back to Friday night, where the Sheffield Steel Dogs faced the Solway Sharks. And I watched this stream. Dan, did you watch this stream?
No, I didn't
No,
watch the
but
stream.
Charlie, you did because we were calling. Oh, we had our NHL draft, didn't we?
Oh
Um,
yeah.
for the NHL fantasy. We won't go on to that. But the NHL season starts. Obviously, it's just started. So it started this week. But the Sheffield Steel Dogs coming off the back of 2 home losses in the same weekend, and the perfect kind of bounce back performance, you'd think, against the Sharks, who are the only team not to win a game in the National League. Oh, sorry, apart from the Bison, but
That doesn't count because we've only played one game, all right?
yeah, well, yeah, that's what I'm. But yeah, a team who's yet to win, and they end up losing 3 on the bounce. And the Solway Sharks pick up their first win of the season. And Charlie, after the first period, it looked like Solway weren't going to score. Me and Dad were watching the stream at home, going, you know what, Sheffield, they got the 1-0 lead, they're on top. Um, they haven't won the last 2 at home. They need to just get the 2 points. But from somewhere, Solway scored 5 second period goals. Charlie.
Yeah, it was a mixture of not the most structured play from Sheffield and Solway just getting that confidence, and it was all over the lines. I believe who was scoring the points. There was a lot of mix of point scorers, and yeah, probably they kind of finally clicked. And I know that they've had weird training patterns and stuff because the rink isn't open, so it's been really difficult for them. But they managed to click as a team, and they managed to put the puck back in the back of the net, which is something they haven't done great at the start of the season. And I think they had really big performances from their imports.
Yeah.
All 4 stepped up, and they really, you could see in that second period, Sheffield just looked shook. They almost, like, from my perspective on watching the game, I felt like they underestimated the Sharks. They didn't expect them to have that, and I think that bit them in the bum.
Yeah, but as you said, the imports are the big ones for Solway. They needed to step up. Dan, we talked about Stewart and Ossick having to kind of step up as those 2 main forwards. Well, they got a goal and 2 assists each, which was huge for them. And they come at good times as well. And Ossick specifically, who I think's taken a little bit of time to settle. Well, this was the game for him. I thought he was one of the standout players. And he scored that big 5th goal straight after Sheffield scored on the power play. He literally scored like let's just check. He scored 11 seconds later to just reassure him, and yeah, that'll do. Hope they'll be hoping his confidence massive, ready for when that rink comes back home. Dan, sorry.
Yeah, no, Stuart. I think you saw his confidence grow obviously against Bristol. even though it was a tough game for them, he was the guy that sort of looked like a bit of a lively guy there, and I think he's definitely going to be a guy that's going to be big for Solway. Obviously, yeah, he's grown in confidence over the past few weeks, and I think he's just going to keep going and going. Hopefully, Solway can get a few more wins under the belt for obviously the players. It's a lot easier to be playing in a winning environment and an environment when you've been winning a few games, you've got a good bit of momentum going. So yeah, I think. And the only way that's going to happen is if the imports step up. So the imports need to find a bit of momentum from somewhere, and obviously just build on the confidence that they've already got from that game.
Exactly, and that's a huge 2 points to get them going. Because you're looking at, if they lost that, they obviously lost on Sunday, which we'll talk about in a bit. But you don't want to be losing 6 out of 6 games and having to play catch up. Charlie, on a Sheffield perspective, it's not good enough really to lose 3 home games on the bounce. Now, I'll ask you this: do you think everyone, not everyone, a lot of people maybe fell into the hype a bit too much of Sheffield, because there is a lot of change. They got 3 new imports come in, obviously with Garcia, Gendanov, and Larenmar. Obviously, Gendanov didn't play that Friday night. I don't know why. It might have been a little knock because he played on the Saturday. A new coach, new goalies, like a lot of new players coming in the team. Do you think maybe people should have took that step back and realised it might take a bit of time for them to kind of settle and get used to that Slava system?
Maybe, but at the same time, I do just think they've been a bit sloppy
Yeah,
and they've been a bit poor. And yeah, I think they've just had some errors in their game. Like whether they've settled or not, I do think you should beat a Solway team which look vulnerable at home. And the biggest thing for me is that they're down 2 cup points and 4 cup points in their last home games, and the home games are the ones where you want to take advantage of the cup. Especially, and losing 2 cup points to Solway it could definitely hurt them when it comes to qualifying. But yeah, I just think disappointing to concede so many in their last against Phantoms and Solway. Our game was a bit closer and 4-2 in terms of the amount of goals
one.
against 4-1. Yeah. In terms of the amount of goals against, but they conceded 6 to Solway and 6 to Phantoms.
Yeah.
You just don't really want to be conceding that many goals in games in your home barn, especially under a coach like Slava. But I think it will take time to adapt. But at the same time, I think they could have easily won the Peterborough game. It was a flip of a coin and the penalty shootout. And then Solway at home, they made some very silly errors. But then credit to Solway, they forced them into that and they got on top of them. So I think it's a bit of a wake up call for a lot of Sheffield players. I think Davy Phillips got scratched the next night. I don't know whether that was due to injury or due to
He
not
did
playing,
have quite a rough game on that
but
Friday.
he wasn't brilliant on the Friday. Yeah, so I think it's a wake up call for a lot of players in that Sheffield team that every game is a cup final in this league, and it's like that. If you're asleep, doesn't matter if you're against a team who hasn't won, they want to win.
Yeah, I think that's it. Maybe last season you could have written a couple games off in terms of some of those teams at the bottom, but this season you can't sleep on any of these teams because they'll punish you 5 goals in that second period. That is a brutal second period. But if there's any man to change that around for them, it is Slava Kulikov. Let's go on to the games on Saturday then, starting with the doubleheader of Romford and Leeds. Romford at home on the Saturday. This was a cup game. And Dan, we said obviously Leeds had that 4-pointer against Bristol. This was going to be an even bigger test against Romford, a tough place. And they got the 2 points, and that's all that matters. It was a close game. Romford scored 3 power play goals. All their goals were power play goals. But they also gave up a short-handed goal to Liam Payton, who I think started the season quite well. But yeah, I think Kieran Brown, Finn Braden both getting on the score sheet again. Those are the 2 standouts for me, along with Payton as well, who's chipping in with a few goals.
Yeah, I mean they're the guys that you need to look when you're on the road. Obviously, going to Romford, it's a hard place to go. They're the big guys that you're sort of looking at for goals and points when you need them. And they obviously stepped up. Braden again has just carried on that form from the past few weeks. He just seems to be finding the back of the net every night at the minute, and obviously Kieran Brown as well. We know what he can do, but like you say, I do agree. I think Peyton's had a really good start to the year. I think having obviously a
Settled
new
better than I thought. I'll be completely honest. I thought, will the points correlate to the National League? But actually, he's just suited the Leeds style, I think.
Yeah, I think obviously he's a young guy as well, so he's going
Yeah.
to get along with a lot of players in that locker room. I think he's on the same wavelength as a lot of those guys, and they're a high energy team, aren't they? So I think him being out there is sort of it's a nice little fit for him, and he seems to be enjoying it. Obviously, you've got the media people, and they're obviously he seems to be enjoying it there. Seems to be a good vibe around the room, which is good, but yeah, it's always nice when your imports get comfortable quick and get firing quick, and it's also nice for them as well. Obviously, he's never been in the UK before; it's his first time coming over, so yeah, good for him.
Yeah, it's a good bounce back from from the first weekend, which was a bit of a shock to them, I think, and a lot of fans as well. So Leeds take that one. As for Romford, only losing 4-3 at home. They didn't have Shaw Miller again. I really hope that he can come back sooner or later because we know how good Shaw Miller is, but obviously with whatever the little knock is or injury or whatever it is, you don't want to force him back. And they've still been putting up good performances without him. On to the game which I was at, so you're going to hear my voice again for probably the next couple minutes, and that was a big cup game, our first cup game of the season, despite already playing 4 games against the Hull Seahawks. And it was an interesting game because I actually thought we didn't have a bad first period, and we nearly come out the first period 2-0 down. And it wasn't your nicest 2 goals from Hull, but it doesn't matter. Bobby Chamberlain being credited with both of them. And then the penalties, Charlie. And I know I was messaging along with you during the game and calling you in the periods, but Swindon get a 5-on-3 power play for drawing 2 penalties, which were penalties. They get a 5-on-3 power play. They score with 1 second left. Oh, everyone thought O'Connor was shooting the puck. He passes it backdoor to Tyler Watkins, who taps it in, and there was 1 second left. You can see it online on the YouTube video on the highlights. It goes in and then ticks to 1 second. So I think it was even before 1 second to go. But Hull weren't happy, obviously, a bit frustrated, and they got another couple penalties because of the reaction for that goal. And I can imagine after being 2-0 up, going into that period break, Swindon getting that one back on the 5-on-3, which meant Swindon started the second period with another 5-on-3. And Logan van der Meracker gets the puck, little toe drag, ties it up 2-2, and then Mr. Wellesley does what he wants, receives the puck in his own zone, just thought, I'm going to do it myself, and fired it in to make it 3-2. And Charlie, that was Swindon brutally punishing Hull on the power play. 3 power play goals within 2 minutes, if you count it from the end of the first and into the second.
Yeah, and our offense from D has really stood out. From what you're saying with that first goal, Ben O'Connor just fooled the whole ice and gave it to Watkins, and then Wells stepping up, and then Logan being our star forward at the moment. He's been
With
really, really
Bebris, him and Bebris.
yeah, and so yeah, it's what Swindon have to do at home is taking advantage of opportunities other teams give you, and Hull sounding like they played a good away game, but you can't give away penalties in the away ring. You can get away with it a bit more in your own barn, but that's one of the musts when you're going away is keep the penalties to a minimum. You don't want to put them on a power play in a rink they train on because they know where the puck's going. They can whiz it around, and that sounds what happens. So, yeah, good win for Swindon. I think not a bad result for Hull. It's easy for me to say that because we got the points. But it's not the end of the world for Hull because we're a tough away rink to go to.
Yeah, we've proven that already, and that's a big 2 points in the cut for Swindon. Aaron Nell doing his trademark Nelly Selly in that second period. And what I love the most, the last thing I'll say on this game, what I love the most is it was 4-3 going into that final period again. When we played Hull a couple weeks ago in Hull, we were 3-2 up going into the final period. And in 40 minutes of hockey, both third periods, Swindon didn't concede a single goal against the Hull Seahawks, who people would say have one of the best, if not the best, attacking lineup in the National League, with obviously 4 import forwards. So very, very good management in shutting that third period down, and a big 2 points. On to quite a big game for Sheffield against Bristol away, Dan. And we were saying, I think I might have called you, we were saying in the chat, if Sheffield lose this, then serious questions need to be asked in some of those players. And it got to 2-2, and you're thinking, is Bristol going to sneak it here? It went to overtime, and Kyle Watson come up with a huge goal. And as we've always said, at this point of the season, it doesn't matter how you get it done, but they got the 2 points. They get a win in the books, and they needed that, didn't they?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, Bristol were always going to pounce on the opportunity when they saw Sheffield obviously lost on the Friday night. They were always going to be looking at that game thinking we could take points here, because when Bristol are at home, we've seen it before. When they're at home and they can get going, they are a hard team to play, and the fans really get behind them in the game. And I can imagine the atmosphere in that rink was very, very good that night, because it seemed to be like a close game the whole way through. And obviously, I think Batch got an early goal in the game. I think he scored like 3 minutes in, was it, or something like that? And so it must have got the crowd going early. It's a shame that Bristol will be annoyed that they couldn't have got more goals. Obviously, I don't know how the game went. I don't know how it looked like with momentum and stuff like that. But they'll be annoyed that they couldn't sort of get a few more goals and make a bit more of a cushion. But fair play to obviously Sheffield. They must have defended a lot tighter than they did the
Well,
night before.
looking at the shots, Sheffield did outshoot them quite a bit, and I think Tommy kind of kept Bristol in the game. But I think what Sheffield did well is not let any momentum go to Bristol, because you saw it, both of you, when you went to that Solway game. You can't give them any momentum from anything, and to be fair, it sounds like Sheffield did that.
Yeah, I mean, they had to tighten up the D from the night before. Obviously, they can't be letting that happen again. And they obviously went into that game and did that, which it shows, because you look at the scoreline, you think that was a close game the whole way through. And they got that massive overtime goal, which is huge. And they need, like you said, they needed it. You can't go into Bristol after a game like that against Solway. No discredit to Bristol, but you should go into that game winning, and you can't go into that game and lose, and then all of a sudden that's two games in a row lost, and against teams that you should be beating.
Yeah, no, I agree. Bristol, though, again, another point. I know they'll be disappointed they didn't get the 2 points, but it's another point to add, and that could be a big point. It's points which they didn't get last season, Charlie. So yeah, you never know. It's early days. And then the final game of the weekend, you did actually go to it, Dan, so I will come back to you for it. Was the big one, the Milton Keynes versus Peterborough derby. And boy, it started off with a bang, didn't it? Ralph Serenis scoring 1 minute 19, and we say it every flipping week, Dan. How do teams concede a few seconds from face-off? Well, MK did that, didn't they? They pounced on the mistake, and the star of the night, Tom's Rutkiss, the hat-trick hero, thought through it. Sum it up, Dan.
Yeah, I mean, you say obviously you got to start well in Peterborough and in MK,
MK.
and Peterborough did that, and they started off really well. They started off perfectly. They had really good offense. They held the zone really well, and obviously Sesenis got that big goal to start off the game, and obviously he said he like he does gets the team going. Um, but yeah. And then it was a bit demoralising when they go straight from the face off and score. But MK, that's just what MK do. Like, if MK are gonna score a goal, they need to just score it quick after they've conceded, because obviously Peterborough would have been in control of that game. But after it went to 1-1, obviously it sort of settled down a bit, and there was 3 goals within the first like 3 or 4 minutes of the game. So it was 2-1 to MK, and and then it started going MK's way. You know how it is in MK. They start getting that momentum, and then they start hemming you in the zone. They start really going for it. And fair play, Levine started the game off really well. The whole defense started well, and MK is chip away, chip away, chip away, and I just want to say County and Rutkiss the whole night, unbelievable. Like they were the best two players on the ice by a mile. I think that was the first time they've been on a line this season, or it was that is
It is.
that is that correct? Yeah. So
Switch the
I
lines
think
up a little bit.
I've seen it on socials. I think Harrison said it. I think Rutkiss has just walked himself onto a line with County, and yeah, I'm not going to be surprised when I see that this coming weekend because they were unplayable that night, and they played the perfect game after that.
Yeah,
When they got control, they just kept going at Peterborough. Peterborough started heavy offense. Obviously, we thought Tate was going to go that way. Obviously, getting the guys out there, getting some shots on net, but it left Peterborough wide open at the back, and it's exactly what you can't do in MK because they will catch you every time. And slowly but surely, MK just took control of that game, and obviously we'll talk about the Barron situation, which sort of sealed it off for MK
yeah.
after
Well,
that.
there was some hope from Peterborough. They were, I think, 7-2 down, and they scored
They
two
scored two
goals,
quick goals.
two goals in about 30 seconds. And that takes it to 7-4. And with 9 minutes to go, you're thinking, could they do the impossible? We saw Romford last year in the playoffs. They got it to 7-7 against Milton Keynes and take it to overtime. Charlie, we've seen it. It's just a moment of madness from Bowering. It's one of them where I'm sure he was wound up in the game. It's 7-4. It's not going your way. You've got fourth liner Grinnell Park doing his job, winding him up, forechecking, following through on his hits. And he must have just not thought in the instant and just cross-checked him in the face. And I bet you straight after he did that, he probably regretted it. But it's stupid, isn't it? And he's going to get probably a 4 or 6 game ban.
Yeah, I think he probably just saw red and did what came to his mind. Yeah, I'm glad there was no injuries or anything, so I don't think it's one of them ones where you throw your toys out the pram and go mental. It's important that no one got hurt, but yeah, I think Dops would do what Dops needs to do now and ban someone. I think these incidents are obviously a bit more serious as they're not really part of the game. It's not like a bad hit, it's just cross-checking someone in the head with your stick. So yeah, it wasn't very wise. He'll get the Dops punishment, and it kind of, I guess, to a game which wasn't pretty for Peterborough anyway, put a dark looming over it even more because it just, yeah, it's just not the greatest rep, is it? But it's one of them things. I reckon probably 4 games and he'll learn his lesson, and then maybe when MK and Peterborough play next, he can drop the gloves with Grenell Park and we can see them
Well,
fight properly.
well, a certain someone, Dan, Spadafor, was offering anyone out, wasn't he? He
Yeah,
did say the atmosphere there once that kind of happened, and you expect it because it's a silly move, and it's like a move from an outsider where you think that's just sore loser. You're being a sore loser there and just lashing out. But I do expect the next time they play, whether that's in Peterborough or MK, there will be a bit of spite in it. Obviously, it happened with the Venus incident, and Gretton took that into his own hands. And I know Grinnell Park didn't get injured, which is good. He got a little cut, I think, and he still went out with skating the players. But yeah, it makes the next game a lot more spicy, doesn't it?
yeah, 100%. And yeah, that's the good thing about hockey is things like that can get sorted out on the ice, which is nice.
But you want the refs to just let that happen and then it's game
And
time
then
kind
you
of
play
thing.
hockey. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how it should be. That's how the players are going to want it to be. But I think the refs did make a mistake that night of sending because they knew Barron was getting a game. They shouldn't have sent him to the box first.
They
They
should have
should
just
have just
went
sent him
straight off.
straight off the ice
Yeah.
because obviously that the crowd got more agitated from that. Obviously, see him going to the box, and then the players are getting agitated as he's going across the ice again. So it's sort of it all adds to it, and they should have sent him straight off into the tunnel, but obviously, I guess he at the moment they just wanted to get Barron out of the way because Spanifor was coming in flying. So so they were just trying to save him really. But it's one of those things, and like we said, hopefully next game they can just go and sort it out off the draw and
Yeah.
just play hockey
He's a
after.
young lad. He'll learn from it. I don't think he'll do it again. I was
He's
surprised when I
been
heard that he did that.
I mean, looking at like the highlights of preseason and stuff like that, he's been throwing the body quite a bit to
Yeah,
start the year. He seems to have taken on that bit more physicality in his role, and I'm not against that. I think being a D man that he can stick handle, he can carry the puck really well. Having that bit of physicality in there is also going to be really good for him. But yeah, you just need to be a bit careful with it
yeah, he's
sometimes.
overstepped the mark just a little bit there. Um, On to the Sunday then, the earlier game, Leeds against Romford. And after winning on the Saturday at home against Romford, you'd expect them to go and complete that 4-point weekend again, just like they did against Bristol the week before. And Romford, again, give them a great game out of it, got it to 2-2. But then it turned into the Matt Bissonnette show, two really nice goals and then an empty net from his own zone. So Charlie, after that kind of first weekend where they did drop those two games, you can only play and only beat what's in front of you, and they've got the 4 points. And yeah, it's a bit of momentum for those players who had that tough start.
Yeah, and I think it's about building confidence. Like, none of them really turned up in the first two games, and it's just about building some confidence. And we've said this before, but this is a new look Leeds team. And Bally settled in the best. Well done, Bally. Big up, Swindon boy. And so, yeah, I think it's important that a lot of the players settle in. So Payton's starting to settle in. Bissonnette settling back in. I think he had quite a slow start in the first four games. And so getting them guys settling in and getting the defensive side done. And the one thing I will say about Leeds is their games have been very close against Romford. They haven't had like they did against Bristol at home, but I don't know. I would have expected them to have a bit of a bigger scoreline. So I'm waiting for that kind of cooking game Leeds always do, where everyone just dominates. And I think that will come soon.
Yeah, but I think we're seeing a little bit different. We're going to go into a game which was a cook show, but there are a lot more close games in the National League. We'll go on to that cooking game. Hull Seahawks were 5-0 up after the first period, or 4-0 up and made it 5 early on. I did expect this. You lose your first four games in a row against tough teams, but you lose four on the trot at home against Solway is probably what Sheffield should have tried to do and kill it off. By the way, in that Sheffield game, I'm not sure how accurate the stats were. Apparently, Sheffield had 27 shots on goal in the third period. I don't really watching the stream. I don't think it was that much, but if they did, then Sheffield on Solway on that Friday night in the third
There's no
period,
chance.
no
No
chance.
chance.
But if they did, fair play, Jordan Maher. That's probably why Hepburn played on the Sunday because he played on the Sunday. And
27 shots.
I know
You
I
kidding
don't.
me?
That must have been in the game,
I will
surely.
say, I think the people at Sheffield have got so many things wrong in terms of goal scorers, points, shots. But hey, it's English
But
hockey.
they've got good food, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Wow, it's like £6.50 now. I
Yeah, it
remember
doesn't matter. It's worth it.
it used to be a fiver. Oh, but onto that whole game. Svet getting a couple, Chamberlain getting a couple. And yeah, from then on it was kind of just put to bed. Yeah, you expect it, Dan. And Hull have now got to just go and do that to other teams now and use this game as a bit of momentum. They've got a couple of the tough games out the way now.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame for Solway. Obviously, they had that win against Sheffield, then they have to go up against the Hull after. They would have liked a bit of a nicer fixture for just coming off the first win, but obviously that's hockey. But yeah, Hull are just relentless. We said this before the season. We said if Hull can get into a game and really start scoring goals, they won't stop. And I can imagine they were definitely still going for that 10th. I don't reckon they've took their foot off the gas at all. Because I can't imagine that's what Hull would do. But yeah, it's a good game for Hull. They needed it, like you said. They needed the confidence. They needed the players to get on the score sheet. And that's exactly what they did. And like you said, they just need to carry that on now.
Charlie, one point which is interesting. I did want to bring it up because you see Hull go and smash Solway 9-2, play this attacking, free-flowing hockey where it's just all out attack. Maybe why didn't they do that in those first 4 games? I know you're playing better opposition, so naturally you think, oh, we have to set up defensively a bit better. But even on the game against Swindon, I really do think they could have just maybe gone for it a little bit more attacking wise because they've got all these attack players. I get people have been saying, oh, they've got no defense when actually they've shown that they have got a decent little decor. But yeah, we were talking about this. They've signed all these forwards, but then they're not playing, I think, as attacking as maybe they could do.
Yeah, I just say send it, man.
Yeah,
That's me. I'm not a Hull fan, and I do enjoy structured Swindon hockey. But from a perspective of the way the team's built, I don't see the problem. I don't know. I feel like they started the season off a bit passive. I think that's how I'd word it. I don't think they went to Sheffield, and I think they scored 3, 4 goals.
3 goals,
MK, how many was in that game?
2.
Two, and then Swindon one. One and then two in our three in our bar. And I just think that offense can do and did last year score more past them teams. And I guess the team which comes to mind is Romford from last season, where to
Yeah,
be honest, I felt they go, right, we're going to concede 5 and score 6. That's how Romford came across to me last year. And I know there's more structure in hockey than that, but I fancy Hull just to try batter teams, especially in their own barn. And I want to see it more. And I think let some of them players be free and like a sob chat and say, yes, do your defensive duties, but if you feel you can pinch, pinch, play attacking hockey. And I think they do need that confidence in them players. And then the only other thing which shocked me about this Sunday was Stallard got 0 points in a 9 goal game. That shocked me. But I think yeah, it will be a big confidence game for Hull, and they've just got to do it. Get the puck in the back of the net, and that will start to get them going. Once they get 3 lines firing, I think that will be really important. But you could say the same for Swindon right now. We are not scoring loads and loads
yeah.
either.
But then we are keeping the puck out of the net, so and we've gotten wins. But I get what you mean. On to that game, which was the complete opposite. I was lucky enough to do the commentary with Phil for the Peterborough Swindon game. Tough place to go to, another cup game, and it was a game of the goalies, really. Renimar and Hayden Levine just pulling off some unbelievable saves, saving what they should have, but also going that extra step in saving some of those big 2-on-1s and 3-on-2s. And it was an unbelievable game to watch and commentate on. 1-1, Luke Ferrara scored early, that top line. And I said that before the game, if Swindon wanted to come out and get the win, they have to nullify that top line because I don't think you can stop that Lackinen, Ferrara and uh
Lawrence.
Lawrence line, the ex Coventry boys back together because they scored points against Milton Keynes as well, but they just lost. But yeah, Watkins then got a quick reply. It was both teams dominated in spells, had chances in spells, went all the way to overtime. One of the best back checks, one of the best hockey plays I think I've ever seen live. Still don't know where Cam Huff got that speed from because Logan isn't a slow player and maybe he thought he had a bit more time and thought he was 1-on-1 and no one was going to catch him. But Cam Huff with an absolutely bonkers back check. And then a minute later, Tom Norton, it had to be Tom Norton. We're good mates with Tom Norton, but he buries the winner, which snuck past Mar. But yeah, Hayden Levine, Dan, that's one way to bounce back from a tough night in Milton Keynes. 48 out of 49. Like that's what he can do on the home ice, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, this is what I was saying to you. Obviously, I phoned you on the way home. I was like, Levine didn't have a great game again. Obviously, like we said, it's a hard place to go in MK, but you sort of need that's when you need your goalie to step up
Yeah.
and make those saves. And I just didn't really see it from him. And we always say, obviously, whenever I say that, it's always going to be a good night for him the next night. And he goes up against Swindon, and yeah, he turns it right around and has a worldy game. And yeah, I just never seem to see him. But obviously, he's done it again against Swindon, and again it sounded like they needed their goalie to step up, and that game he did step up, and that is the difference. You obviously in that game it was Rennie let in more than Levine. Like that. That's how the game went. It was just the
But it
goalie
was
show,
fine
and
margins. It was one shot, wasn't it?
yeah. So that's literally all it is. And again, that comes down to your goaltending and the way you can keep the puck out of the net. And at the end of the day, your D looked like you did a good job. Both D on both sides had a good game. And like I said, it was just the goalies behind that just let one through.
Yeah. Swindon's first loss of the season. Haven't had a regulation loss yet. Obviously, that could be a big cut point. We don't know. It was a cup game, so Swindon got 3 out of the 4, but it's another big 2 points in the cup for Peterborough. We'll go into the cup in a bit when we look at the tables, but we'll go to the final game, which was Telford against Bristol. Telford's only game of the weekend. And Bristol, 4-4 with 5 minutes to go, and you do all that hard work to get it to possibly getting a point. Jay King, what are you doing, man? It's just again a silly little slash, and he gets a 5 minute penalty, and it was a stupid slash out of nowhere. He might have been chirped, there might have been people winding him up in his ear, and he just lost it. But in a 4-4 game, Charlie, when it's when you can get points on the road, which are huge, and the way Telford have been playing their power play, we saw it. We literally saw Dan saw it in the flesh last week.
Oh.
They scored 2 power play goals to turn the whole game around, and they ended up losing 9-4, Charlie.
Yeah, the one thing I would say is I don't think it was a little slash. It was
The big
very
slash.
obvious.
It was two-handed.
He just two-handed baseball bat him. Again, I can laugh about it because nobody was hurt, I believe, and I'm glad that is the case. But it's just stupid. Like the Brad Barron one is stupid, but at least you're pretty much out of the game. But this is just like, come on, brother. Like it's 4-4. But yeah, again, another one of them moments where he probably saw red. It must have been a good chirp. And he did well there, the chirp. But I think it's a frustrating one, and it just screams of last season. And then to go lose the game 9-4 just kills every bit of confidence your
I
team
know.
has. You lose a tight overtime game the before. You go to a Telford team who, if they win their game in hand, are joint top of the league with us. You're going to a team which is on fire right now, and you are 4-4 with them in the third period. This could be a cracking confidence builder for your team. And he's let them down, like to put it blunt. He's let the whole team down there, and it's really disappointing to see from a Bristol perspective. And from a Telford perspective, they got given a golden platter and they took it and they ate it. And they finished the job very quickly. So, yeah, very frustrating from Bristol. And I think they have to learn quick. Like, they gave away majors last year. And the thing is, a lot of the time they gave away the majors last year, they were out the game. You cannot give away majors at that point in the game. But from another perspective, and I don't want to always be negative on Bristol, I'm gonna not take the 9-4 so literally and say they've had 5 great periods of hockey this weekend.
Yeah.
They've had 5 great periods of
They
hockey.
battled.
And they've battled, they've competed with 2 very good teams in this league. And that is a huge positive to come out of that Bristol team, especially when you're losing Wingfield, Hamill, and Whitesay still. And
Yeah.
you're competing with
And then
Telford, Sheffield.
Bailey Airwood's not playing for him either.
Yeah, and no Bailey Harewood that day. So you're competing for literally 100 minutes of hockey, which is a big positive. They just can't, when you're battling for playoffs with such a competitive league, you just cannot afford to be having stupid moments in the game. But it's a positive for Bristol. It is, they've had a better start to the season, but the scoreline makes it look tragic. So, yeah, one of them things. And then credit to Telford, like I said, they are lethal at the moment. And yeah, I just Henderson and Thompson are nuts for them.
Yeah, so I'm going on to him now. Thompson with a 5 point game. He had a 4 point game against Basingstoke. Four goals, 3 of those power play goals. He's got 5 power play goals in his last 4 games. Their power play is absolutely ripping it up. And they are the duo of the league at the moment. And maybe one of us should have maybe put Thompson as the top point scorer, because he got 2 points a game last year, and he only played the 31 games. He is tearing it up. Will that continue? Maybe it will. But Telford are going to keep rolling on this hot streak right now, because yeah, they're averaging, I think, 6 goals a game at the moment, which is mental. And that obviously starts with the attack, but also Rhodes, Mitchell, King, and McPhee. They're having a party with the goals they're getting. So yeah, big 2 points for Telford again on their only game of the weekend. Technically, they haven't lost in regulation yet as well. The only loss they've got is in a shootout. So that concludes the weekend. Going on to the standings, then Swindon are top. They've only dropped the 1 point. Telford second. They've played a game less. MK, Peterborough, Leeds. But yeah, the table's not too much to worry about at the moment because it's early days. The cup, however, is very scrambled because some teams have played 4 games, and then there's other teams, Romford, Basingstoke, they've only played 1 game, Swindon have only played 2, but Telford lead at the moment 7 out of 8 points, and they've got Leeds and MK and Peterborough out the way, which is massive for them. So they are in the driving seat at the moment to get that cup spot. MK 6 out of 8 points in the cup, and Peterborough as well 6 out of 8. So that top 4, Dan, is going to be competitive. When it gets to 7 or 8 games, there's going to be I think there's going to be 6, maybe 7 teams who are in that kind of range of getting the top 4 cup spot.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be a battle for everything this year, and it's gonna be so good because, like we said, these teams, there's no bad team in this league, and every team is gonna be battling, and that's what you love to see. And like we said, you got these cup competitions, it's gonna be so tight. You've got that battle for the playoffs, the battle for the league. It's just gonna be unreal, and this is how it's gonna be the whole year. It's just gonna be teams going toe to toe with each other, all these teams just pulling games out of the bag and just causing upsets. You've got teams that are just climbing the table and taking charge, and that's exactly how this year's gonna go. And yeah, I can't wait for it.
Yeah. We'll see.
Hopefully we can get a few games under our belt.
I I don't know how Basingstoke are going to complete their cup games. We'll have to see. On finishing on this weekend, then just briefly going over the games. So on the Saturday, Romford at home against Telford. Hopefully, Sean Miller's back for that one. That could scream goals. In that game, Swindon. This is a cup game against Sheffield. Sheffield looking to get another away win, try and get on a little streak. And Dan, Bristol against Basingstoke. Bristol will be looking for revenge from pre-season, but that's a big game, isn't it? 2 teams who are going to be battling for that playoff spot, and yeah, two points up for grabs.
Yeah, I'm just going to say the same as Telford. We have to come out strong in that game. We can't give Bristol any momentum. Same as we did in Telford. We didn't start off great, and we sort of paid for it in the end. We just need to find our feet as quick as we can. Obviously, not playing last weekend is tough. But we just need to go into that rink. We've got 2 wins in there already this season. We need to go in with that confidence, knowing that we can win in that rink, and knowing that we in past seasons we've done good in Bristol, and we just need to go in confidence, have a good week of training, hopefully, and just go in with that with a heads high, and just sort of get on Bristol early and to start getting some goals past Napier and really sort of rocking them off their game a little bit.
Yeah, just getting your feet going because it'll be literally a second game of the season. Charlie, top of the table battle, what we think will be a top of the table battle. Leeds, MK playing each other for the first time. Big test for Leeds in Milton Keynes. They won there twice last season, but how do you see that one going? MK at home, haven't lost at home yet.
MK will win it.
You reckon?
It'll be a big win for MK.
And which imports are they going to play? Because Forsberg hasn't been playing at the moment. It's just bingo at the moment. You'd think he's got a knock because I put him as a nailed-on one to be an import starter, but
I do enjoy this import roulette from an outsider perspective. It's good fun. But No, I think MK have been really good at home, as you expect, but I don't know. They had a slight blip at home last year a bit. They weren't quite as strong. I think they look really, really good. But yeah, I probably will sneak MK, but could be a nice day for. I call him Maviticus, but I don't have a clue what his actual name is.
Kevics.
McKevics. It could be a day for McKevics to put his name in the Leeds Knights team
Yeah,
properly.
big pad, big pad. But yeah, we'll see how that one goes. And then this is guaranteed fireworks. It always kicks off between Peterborough and Hull. I was speaking to Phil, and he's commentated on quite a few Peterborough Hull games in Peterborough, and they always kick off. And then another tough one for Milton Keynes. And if you're Sheffield, you've had 3 home losses on the bounce, and then you're coming up against Milton Keynes. And this is huge because Dan, if you get 4 home losses in a row, and I'm thinking about the crowd as well, you want them to keep coming. So a big performance from Sheffield on that Sunday, and it's an early face-off as well at 4.
Yeah, and that's a big team to beat as well. I mean, if you can get that win, not only do you, like you
Sheffield,
said,
oh, they got Swindon on the Saturday. That is a tough weekend.
yeah, I mean, not only do you get the confidence from beating a team like MK, you've also obviously you've shown the fans that you can compete against these big teams and you can compete at home. You need to really sort of turn the tide in your home rink, and they really need to make that rink hard to go to because at the minute teams are going into that rink and they're
Same.
coming out with points,
Yeah.
and you can't be doing that going to Sheffield. We know Sheffield's a hard pad to play on anyway. It's a big pad. Teams always struggle there. It's always been that way. But yeah, teams are going in there at the start of this year, and like I said, they're taking points from Sheffield, which they can't be letting happen.
Yeah. Bison against Swindon. It is at the Link Centre. It's a Bison home game though, and we know what happened last time. Rennie Mar decided to batter right. And ended up coming back. I don't think it'll be quite as spicy as that, but I do expect there to be a physical side to that game. Because Basingstoke can definitely offer that. Leeds against Solway, it doesn't get any easier for the Sharks. And then Hull against Romford, which is also a very, very
That's
good
going to
match.
be 15-4, that one.
Yeah, I think both teams just all out attack, especially if Villa's there. That can be fun. And then finally, Telford against Peterborough, which is also a very, very good matchup. Obviously, Peterborough winning it in overtime a couple weeks ago. Telford at home for this one. So, yeah, we hope you've enjoyed this episode. Anything else to add?
Up the Leafs.
Up the
Oh
Leafs.
yeah. Avalanche just winning a lot.
McDavid signing for 12.5. What a captain. Right. We'll see you in the next one. We'll try and get an interview for that one. But we'll see. Peace.